Hello friends, as you have seen, I am giving you handwritten notes of BBA and LLB. So like, comment and subscribe my channel so that you can watch my latest videos. In the previous video, I have explained what is pledge in Indian Contract Act and difference between pledge and bailment. And in today's lecture, I will explain what are the exceptions. The students who are watching my today's video, they must watch my previous video so that they can understand what is pledge. And don't skip the video because if you skip it, then you cannot understand. So let's start today's lecture. So these are exceptions. Exception is a person other than owner can pledge the goods. Sometimes interest acquired by third person in goods pledged must be protected. Therefore, law has recognized some exceptions where goods pledged by a person other than owner or authorized person is valid. First exception is pledge by mercantile agent. This is explained under section 178 of Indian Contract Act. A mercantile agent having possession of the goods with the consent of the owner but having no authority to pledge them and make a pledge, provided the pledge or pawnee is acting in a good faith. A pledge by a mercantile agent who has no authority to pledge would be valid provided the following conditions are satisfied. First is, the pledge should be made by a mercantile agent. According to Sales of Goods Act 1930, mercantile agent means a mercantile agent having in the customary course of business as such agent authority either to sell goods or to consign goods for the purpose of sale or to buy goods or to raise money on the security of goods. Second is possession by the mercantile agent in the capacity of mercantile agent. The mercantile agent should have obtained the possession of the goods or documents of title in his capacity as the mercantile agent and with the consent of the owner. Therefore, such possession must not have been obtained in any other capacity. Third is, he must have possession with the consent of owner. Here, even though the mercantile agent may not have been authorized to pledge the goods, yet he must have obtained the possession of the goods or the documents of the title to the goods with the consent of the owner of those goods. Fourth is, the mercantile agent must pledge the goods while acting in the ordinary course of his business. The pledge transaction goods should have been entrusted to the agent in his capacity as a mercantile agent and he should be in possession in that capacity. If the goods are entrusted to him in a different capacity, it is not open to the third party who takes a pledge from him to say that they were in his possession as a mercantile agent and therefore he had the power to create a pledge. Fifth is, pledge must be by document of titles. Where a mercantile agent is in possession of a document of title relating to his principal's goods and if he pledges the same, the pledgee gets a good title if he acts in a good faith and without notice. Sixth is, the pledge should have acted in good faith and without notice. The last essential requirement is that the pawnee should act in a good faith and should not have at the time of pledge notice that the pawner has no authority to pledge. The expression good faith and notice are not defined in the Act. The definition of good faith as given in the General Clauses Act 1895 is therefore applicable. According to that act, a thing is said to be done in good faith when it is done honestly, whether negligently or not. Notice will remain actual as well as constructive notice. Second exception is pledged by person in possession under a voidable contract. This recognizes another exception to the rule that either the owner or his duly authorized agent can pledge the goods. According to this exception, a person who has obtained that possession of the goods under a voidable contract, a pledge by him before the contract has been rescinded, to a pledgee acting in a good faith and without notice of the pawner's defect in title confers a good title on a pledgee. One example is there. A obtains goods from B by misrepresentation or fraud. He pledges them to C, who acted in good faith and for consideration. Now B cannot rescind the contract when he discovers the misrepresentation or fraud, so as to recover the goods from C. Third exception is pledge by a person with a limited interest. A person having a limited interest in the goods, for instance a pledgee, may pledge the goods. One example is there. A pledges the goods to B for rupees 5,000 and B makes a sub-pledge of those goods for rupees 8,000. A gets a right to take back those goods by paying rupees 5,000 only. Remember one thing here, that sub-pledge is invalid if original pledge is invalid, where the original pledge was invalid or where no effective pledge in favor of the pawnee has taken place. Any sub-pledge made by him will be equally invalid. Next is rights of pawnee, or we can say rights of pledgee. So there are three types of rights under Indian Contract Act 1872. First is right to retain the goods pledged. This is explained under section 173 and 174 of Indian Contract Act 1872. Second is right to recover extraordinary expenses incurred by him. This is explained under section 175 of Indian Contract Act 1872. Next is right of suit to procure the debt, etc. and sale of pledged goods. This is explained under section 176 of Indian Contract Act 1872. So these are the three rights of the pawnee, and this we study in detail in the next lecture. So if you like my video, then like, comment and subscribe my channel. So see you soon in my next video.